All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome to another session of our Apocalypse World campaign, The Frozen Heights. I'm so happy to be back with our returning players. Uh, we're gonna just really hop right back into this thing. I think there's no other way to start here. Last time we were here, just to give us a brief flashback back into the cold mountains and the frigid weather. The men and women of Portum arrived to the castle early on this morning. They arrived with the RV of Omi, the strange individual that had come across a few large Tupperware containers of meds. Brought his RV to be repaired, and they had a few Jeeps and four-wheelers. They all seemed to be a lot more savage than the Legion that we've been seeing so often. Immediately going to focus on drinking, finding a warm bed or someone to accompany them to that bed. While this was happening, the old man Peter and his caravan prepared to head out. One of his guards unfortunately did not arrive, so he had offered the spot to anyone else willing to travel with them, saying that if you are willing to come, guard, shovel, I will pay you to barter and offer you a ride back home. So you're going to have to work hard to get there, but once we get there, we drop off our supplies. Don't worry about it. We got you coming back. This new individual, dressed in red with this scavenged armor covered in these spikes of a riot, like full-on gas mask over their face, with a gun slung over an assault rifle on the back, a shotgun in the hand, made their presence known. This individual known as Sam, and well, there was really no one else that could take that spot but this person. So with their roster full, the caravan headed out. They were lucky to be able to make a few choices on what this trip would experience, including the cold winds hiding behind the peaks. And let's see, what else was the second one here? I have to look it up. Oh, and there's a clear path to the destination, so you know exactly how to go and where to go. So as they headed out, Dusk stayed behind, still able to see within the caravan as they traveled, as she had puppet stringed Abraham. And as she was watching, everyone came across a dead snow bear. On the back of the snow bear was a large watermelon-sized hole that had been caused by a bunch of squirming maggots. So of course the only sane thing to do is skin this bear and turn it into a coat, so that you can hide in the snow, which of course Sam did. After they continued forward, an incident occurred in the castle where Dusk was trying to sleep, not really able to, just because there was a lot more noise. And then she heard the sound of a scuffle going on in the hallway. Opening the door, peeking down, she saw Larissa, one of Lark's followers, being dragged into this hallway by two men from Portum. Just kind of watching the situation, it quickly turned on its ear as Larissa, even only with one hand, seemed to be quite apt with a knife. Killing one man and then going at it with a man twice her size. Unfortunately, all of this commotion caused more men from Portum to come in, and basically by the end of everything, Dusk had caused the death of 7 men of Portum, Larissa too. So that situation is still happening. There was a brief moment with Dusk and Larissa when it seemed like Larissa was kind of not sure if she should approach Dusk or not. Dusk definitely made sure she stayed clear, and Larissa has gone back to her camp. There was also a brief encounter with Dusk and the legate. He definitely looked straight at her, recognized her, gave her a really weird smile, and was last seen kind of standing at the bottom of the stairway of the tower that Dusk has gone into to kind of hide for a bit. Well, while all that fun was going on in the castle, the caravan had found their way around the first little pivot point, the pinch of the mountains, and there was a cave there. they had seen footprints that seemed to be about the size of one of the snow bears, so they went to investigate just to make sure that there wasn't any danger, as it was going to take a little time for the wagon to maneuver through. While they were looking into the cave, they spotted something glistening across the ceiling, and at first it just seemed like maybe it was water or maybe just frost. And after looking at it for a moment, it started to appear more like eyes. Lark took this as an opportunity to say a quick prayer, ask for guidance, speak with the entity, see what he has to say, or they have to say. Well, they had to say a lot. It seems like these creatures may be working with the entity, working for the entity, but definitely something that it advised is here to create a better place for the entity and to bring new followers. Unfortunately, while this was happening, Lark's shadow was bouncing all around, doing strange moves, very much a Peter Pan kind of thing, just moving on its own. And this caused Sam to have a bit of concern. There was a brief situation where Sam stole the knife from Abraham, knocked him to the ground, and put the knife to Lark's throat. Coming to, noticing this throat, they had a brief conversation. They were able to resolve matters without violence for the time being. And as we come in, we kind of zoom into the cave as like a dust of wind flies past the camera, and we see the back of Sam standing about maybe 5 feet in this cave, a torch in one hand, looking up. And she's staring, or they're staring at these small white flecks. They almost appear like dust that are slowly dropping from the ceiling. And as we zoom in kind of over her shoulder, we can see that these are not just dust particles or snow. That these are little tiny spiders about the size of, maybe a dime, not too big, all dropping down. And they all have this strange pattern where when their legs are spread, they appear to be very much like snowflakes. That's where we start, Sam. You saw just one come down, but as you look around, the entire ceiling is beginning to fall down on top of you, but in front of you. Look is behind you, and he sees this, and immediately he's like, "No, let's go. I think that there's no reason for us to be here. That bear's clearly dead," and he begins to start just walking backwards, his bow still in his hand, but he's just kind of shivering, whether it's cold or fear. It's not quite clear.
Stay back. Just give light. They get too close, you bolt. Oh. As she cocks the shotgun.
Lark is going to kind of like wade into the cave a little bit himself, just enough where he can kind of get he doesn't want to interfere with what's happening, but he definitely wants to see it.
Mm-hmm. So as you cock the shotgun, you see, again, like as if you had blown into them, they all kind of pull back for a moment. And you watch them as they retract up to the ceiling, and they start to converge kind of towards the back of the cave. And you start to see it. It looks like, again, water or frost growing across the ceiling. It doesn't look like spiders moving. It just looks like if someone was causing frost, like throwing a frost spell up on the ceiling, and it begins to move down in front of you towards the back part of this cave. And as it starts to come down over the wall, it starts to form, it almost looks like a figure, a person. And as it reaches
slowly pointing that shotgun at it as it's starting to form.
Right.
Lark's just over there in the back, like, fascinating.
Tell me, Shadow Man. Anything of your concern this time?
We shall see.
As this group of spiders kind of hits the bottom of the wall, You can clearly see that it is a figure. It doesn't move for a moment. It just stands there. And after your eyes kind of adjust, you can see that these shadows have formed to stand within the shadow of Lark.
You were saying, Shadow Man?
Well, I was aware that the entity had influence here, and as you can see, I am without a doubt one of the chosen.
So,
Something I take great pride in.
so, let me get this straight. You were just helping me to take the head of one of your little gods. Or at least one of his messengers, is it?
To tell you the truth, I'm not entirely sure what these spiders are, but the influence of the entity is strong. That cannot be denied. And if I'm being completely honest, I just simply wanted to get you in here so you could witness it for yourself.
I don't like what I see. I'm gonna pull the trigger.
Okay.
Firing at...
At the figure, not you, but
Okay.
if, just
So
towards the
at the
figure.
figure of spiders.
Yeah,
got it.
the one she said, "Hey, I'm gonna take this thing's head. I don't like it. I'm gonna shoot it."
Right. For your shotgun, are we talking slugs? Or are we, you got like birdshot in there? What are you shooting?
This is a spread pellet.
Okay.
It
Awesome.
is quite messy. Some buckshot.
Yeah, no, I think for that it's just gonna be a straight up inflict harm. I'm just pulling up my moves here real quick. And what is your harm? Like what harm does your gun do? At what point?
1 second. I believe it's 2 or 3 something. Let me just check real quick. My note. Oh, where I put. All right, so the shotgun is a 3 harm actually.
Awesome.
3 harm, close, messy.
Yeah, the shot goes off, and it especially for Lark, you probably haven't heard a lot of guns, especially in enclosed spaces. I mean, this is probably one of the loudest sounds you've ever heard. This flash of light, and then this crack as this spray probably goes out to a good 18-20 inches in diameter of these pellets just crack up against the back wall. This figure is blown apart and surprisingly seems to have a lot more detail. As you shoot it kind of from the chin up, you see this explosion of something you may have seen often, Sam. It looks like a head popping. The viscera, the skull fragments, all that stuff, even though it's in this weird frost kind of look, it appears to be that way. And the top part from the shoulders up of this figure is then gone. It just dissipates. A few of once the dust settles, you see the figure still stands there. Now Lark's head, as it moves, it no longer matches up, but these spiders are still standing there.
But it's headless.
It is headless. Yeah, you basically have removed its head from the top up. But again, looking at it, it's as if you're looking at someone that's been frozen, but now their head's been removed.
Pop, pop, watching spirits drop. She's just gonna slowly look towards Lark. Well, there goes the head, just like you asked.
Lark's kind of holding his hands over his ears. Damn, that. Ugh. Was that really necessary in here?
Just be glad it wasn't pointed at you. And she's gonna just turn and start walking out of the cave. She did her part. She said, take the spider's head. She took the spider's head.
So as you're having this conversation, Lark, you do notice that some of the dust was not just dust, and a few of these spiders have congealed above Sam's head. 3 of them are dropping down behind her while she's speaking to you.
Yes. I suppose you met your end of the bargain. Lark just slowly watching those spiders, not saying anything about them. So be it. Upon our return, I will put in a good word for you with the Emperor, ensure that you have plenty of work and plenty of barter will be coming your way.
Good. I'm glad we can have a good understanding. Just gonna cock the shotgun again to make sure it's ready for another volley. Just as a ready thing.
Right.
Not like she knows where the spiders are. Just as a
you
force of
definitely
habit.
you might, as you're looking at Lark, you might notice that his eyes are drifting elsewhere. So if you want to read a person, I would definitely say this might be a conversation to do that.
Yes, I would actually.
Yeah, because I would say, I mean, Lark, how easily
Oh.
distracted are you towards these 3 snowflakes slowly drifting down from the ceiling towards the back of Sam's neck?
There is definitely a moment where Lark looks up at them, but he tries to act casual as quickly as possible. So I'm definitely going to try to interfere with
Right.
this roll.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and start with that then. How much
Just a
hex?
question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did
Our
we just
hex
remember
is
to
0.
highlight stats?
Boom. Good question. I guess I'll leave that up. Do we feel like enough has changed that we should re-highlight stats, or do we want to stick with them as they are?
I am personally good with them as they are because I don't think the situation has really changed. Dusk still has to deal with the immediate aftermath of what happened at the castle, and Sam and Lark both have to deal with the ramifications of what's happening right now.
Right.
It's kind of the
I'm
same.
cool with keeping it, personally. I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah. It's definitely something. I try to do it whenever there's a major, or not necessarily major, but something has changed enough to make sense that your thought process of what's going on in your mind, kind of why your stats might be highlighted or beneficial, would change. So because it's only been really a couple hours in real life time, I think it's perfect here. But if we get to a point, we get to another night and we want to go to another day and we want to highlight stats, then we can do it in the middle of the session. There's no specific point you're supposed to. It's just supposed to happen during the session. So
All right. Then yes, I would like to try and read Lark. That is a sharp roll, correct?
correct. But first, he's going to try to interfere with your roll. So however
Alright.
many hex he has with you, go ahead and roll on that to see if you interfere. Ooh,
It's
boy.
a 0, but no. My eyes linger just a little bit too long. It's a bit more obvious than Lark would have liked.
Right. Well, I'm gonna kind of. You can definitely read a person, but what you see, Sam, is one of these spiders is dropping down from the ceiling right behind Lark, and you see it just drop on the top of his head. Just drop there. You can definitely still read him if you wish, but that's what you see is just a single spider kind of just fall from the ceiling and just drop right on top of his head.
Yeah, I'd still like to read him. I want to see if I
Perfect.
can catch that eye movement.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead and roll plus sharp.
See, there's no help, forward, or interference, so just a regular. Nope.
Oh, God.
You're so distracted by the the drop on his head, that you don't feel the sensation of cold as these three spiders find the crease between where the bottom of your helmet is and the top of your breastplate begins. And for now, everything's on the up and up. You don't notice anything.
Alright. Then I'm just gonna look towards that spider on Lark's head and says, seems they're still your friends. Funny. And just start walking towards the exit of the cave.
Lark just kind of watches her leave. Wonder what she meant by that. Scratches the back of his neck a little.
Yeah.
And exits.
As you two exit, Look standing kind of at the beginning, or the entrance of the cave, just kind of watched that encounter, kind of heard the gunshot. So are we good? I think Mr. Peter is ready to continue on.
We're good. It's splattered.
Oh, well, good job. All right. He kind of gives Peter a thumbs up, and Abraham at this point, he's got himself back up. He's kind of just trying not to look at Sam, definitely looking towards Lark, and as soon as you've got some distance between you, Abraham comes up to you. What was in there?
A sign from the entity, most likely, though one I am not familiar with, and I'm certainly not used to the entity reaching out into our existence for such a thing, but a good omen, I hope.
All right. Yeah, the old man's he's getting kind of anxious. Yeah, I'm good to walk. I might be a little slow, but I'll do my best to keep up.
Lark puts a hand on Abraham's shoulder. If you need, I will give up my spot on the wagon for you and shovel. I am not afraid of labor. If you need,
Kind of looks
don't
confused.
hesitate.
That's what they have those two for. No. He said that spot's for you. I'm fine. I know I have a ride home. This is an atonement trip, right? I deserve this. So no, the entity wishes me to experience these things so that I become stronger, right?
And become stronger you shall. You showed great valor. Continue to do so, and your atonement will be complete.
I will continue to follow your guidance. Just hope we get there soon.
It shouldn't be much farther.
Sam, as you kind of get back towards the wagon, Look hands you the shovel. Peter kind of looks down. What did you kill in there? I heard the gun blast. Was it another one of those bears?
There was already a dead bear in there. What killed it? Well, hard to say. But what I shot? Best you don't know. For your own good.
All right, that I'm fine with that. The story time we can save for the campfire. We gotta get going. We got another pass. I want to get past this next pinch point, about another 5 miles or so, and then we can camp up. We'll be just fine. Look, you good? Look kind of turns around, gives him a thumbs up, kind of puts his bow back around his chest, grabs a shovel, and begins to go out. Again, the snow at this area, you got to clear the sides more than the main path. It's not too bad. It's just a matter of making sure you're checking for rocks or anything that might damage the wheels, that kind of stuff. So as you begin to make your way past the cave, we go back to the castle. Dusk, yeah, you've been at this tower kind of watching the situation. The members of Portum have come, gathered their dead, and very quickly removed any valuable things from their person and thrown their bodies in the incinerator. And you did see the Emperor and the Black Knight, or the Night Sentinel, go off into their part of the castle. You haven't seen the legate leave yet. You've watched 3 of the Legion go over to the small church that Lark uses and confront Rourke, and they've been there for a while. Rourke's doing his best to kind of keep things calm and mellow, and I think because the Legion, it wasn't really towards them, they're willing to have a conversation. But after about 10 minutes, you do see Rourke kind of step aside. Doghead and Monk walk into the church, and they do take Larissa out. She's still covered in blood, but someone's given her an extra coat to put over. They're not holding her or like forcibly, holding weapons to have her move, but they are standing on both sides of her, and all 4 of them, Doghead, Monk, Larissa, and the other Legion member, begin to move towards the castle. Kind of wait for a few more minutes. Kind of watch them go across the courtyard, and just as they're about to reach the door, the entryway towards the main keep, the doorway down below you, the entryway into your hallway, opens up. The legate steps out, closes the door, looks down to the various gifts and assortments that have been left kind of at this door. See him kind of stand there for a moment and just think, and then begins to make his way towards the same area.
I'm going to read the situation with Larissa.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, as you look over there, you definitely have some time to study these individuals. So you have Ace, Doghead, and Monk that are all over there confronting them. So roll plus sharp for me. Awesome. Yeah, you get to ask your 3 questions and take a +1 on your moves towards them.
Okay. Let me just see. Crap. Where was the questions again?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It should be there under basic moves. So if you go to the handouts on the very top, there's a basic moves sheet. It should be listed on that.
I was looking at the advanced one. Oh, no, okay. Basic moves. Okay. Let me see. It's 3 questions, right?
Correct. Yep. And then you take a +1 forward towards any actions that go along with those questions.
Okay, so I guess I'll ask what's my enemy's true position. I'm not sure what that refers to, but
okay. Well, let's just
let's
get into Dusk's mindset right now. You've just killed more people in a single moment than I think you've really killed over time. You know that you've had interactions with a few people beyond your mythos, right? It was more personal than it's ever been before. With Larissa and the legate, they both interacted with you no longer as a being, a supernatural being, but as a person. There's a bunch of new people that you don't know in the castle, and obviously they're dangerous. You've just witnessed that. You know that Lark is gone away, and now members of his flock are possibly in danger. So in your mindset, what is the biggest danger towards you? What is the biggest fear that Dusk might have at this point?
Well, at this point, the biggest fear is she might just kill everyone in the castle.
Okay, so in a way, it's who might cause you to get to that point? Like, who might tip that scale so that the only choice you have is to just destroy? That's a good question. I think there's a few ways of going with this. So the question was, which enemy is the biggest threat? So which enemy?
No, what's my enemy's true position?
Position. So where are they actually located? Yeah, that's a good.
Oh wait, that was a charged situation. I'm not sure if that's the same thing.
Yeah. Compared to what?
No, I was read the stage. When you read the charged situation,
Right.
but that's like, isn't that like when things get tense?
I think it is. I mean, you're watching all of this unfold, and you're trying to understand, based off of everything that's happened, what's the best course of action for Dusk. So yeah, I definitely say it'd be tense. I mean, you just had a pile of bodies right by the place you lay your head at night, and again, encounters with members of the castle that up until this point have feared you as a supernatural being, and seems they may no longer. So as far as your enemy's true position, I guess I need to know a little bit more about Dusk. So what is it that would cause you to get to that point?
Could I reformulate my question if it's better? Like, I just trying to find out why is Larissa being escorted by the Emperor's men?
Okay.
I'm not sure which question would that fit into.
Yeah.
Maybe what should you be on the lookout for?
Right.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. You've been in this castle long enough that you understand that there is a semblance of order here, and a crime has been committed. A crime against someone that the Emperor just brought here, has just levied their military, and you have heard of the trials that take place in the castle. You would probably assume that Larissa is being taken in front of the Emperor to have a sort of trial.
I can't help but point out that Dusk's only two experiences with the sort of justice that happens in the castle was Lark fighting someone to the death,
right,
and what happened to Drag.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess for this one, like, those were two of the extreme situations, but there's definitely been other times when they could control it, where people have been trialed. There's definitely a stockade in here. They've probably hung people before, and there are the dungeons, and that would be a part that Dusk knows about, both from Drag, but also because there are actual dungeon cells that have been used from time to time.
Okay. Okay, and so I have another two questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which enemy is the biggest threat?
I'm gonna say, to you personally, you have two in there. The two people that interacted with you no longer as a supernatural being, but as a person, the Legate and Larissa. yes, you freaked Larissa out, but she's still connected to you, and the legate saw you, knows the last place you were, and has a pretty good amount of power. And you also know he can bend the Emperor's ear pretty well. So as far as your current situation, your livelihood, where you're currently residing, those two would be your biggest threat.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure the Emperor is already aware of Dusk, so...
True, but again,
We've met.
he thinks... yes, he knows you, but there's still that element that he doesn't quite understand. If he hasn't perceived you necessarily as a danger yet, you've been a thing that exists, and he kind of has let you exist. If that changes, chances are your livelihood, where you are allowed to sleep, stay, exist, is going to change.
Okay. I'll keep tabs on that. Okay, which enemy is most vulnerable to me?
What would Dusk want to do next?
So, basically, this is part of Dusk's background, which I will discuss with you later, but she currently has the need for more blood, and she's going to basically stalk at least 3 of the Portum mercenaries, and basically off them later.
Okay, so where's basically your best place to be alone with them?
She'll probably have to drown them in somewhere undisclosed.
Yeah, no. Right now, there's not a lot of men by the garage, and you've probably been overhearing. But there's a gentleman called Recoil that's been over with the vehicles, kind of working on them, tweaking them, making sure that they are in working order. You had seen him previously have a conversation with the Night Sentinel. It seems like he's pretty high up in the gang, and he has a couple, low down. Like he's definitely ordering a few men around, but they are certainly kind of away from people on their own, and he seems to be fairly high up in this regiment of men that don't really have an order, but he definitely has a respect.
Okay, so I guess that will be the first one.
Oh God, you're gonna go after the Night Sentinel right off the bat.
Oh wait, it's the Night Sentinel that's vulnerable?
No, it's
okay.
It's one of his higher members.
Okay,
a gentleman called Recoil. He seems to be the main mechanic, but yeah, it's clear has some respect within the group. He has some people working for him. He's had people probably bring him drinks. So while they would probably not call him a lieutenant or anything like that, he definitely has the respect that he can order people around.
Okay.
So at this point, I mean, it's still daylight. So do you try to go back down to sleep until the night, or do you try to keep tabs on those folk while they?
Yeah, she'll go to stalk up at least 2 more Portum mercenaries, and yeah, keep tabs on them.
Okay. So where you're at right now, you're kind of over here in this tower. You have quite a few houses down past the storage. Chances are you probably know a way across the rooftop, and you're familiar enough. When the Legion's going to be in their tower making their watches. So do you just kind of follow along the rooftop, or do you try to sneak through the courtyard? How would you get your way to the garage? Because I think a path, the easiest path is probably going to be just following along the wall, just going to the other tower, and following along as you've done before. Because going down the southern wall, you're going to find yourself right over the garage where you had been when that fight broke out between the Ashtown folk and Lark and Abraham and Rourke and all them. So it's a familiar path you would take. There's going to be more eyes here, so the main risk is just, are you going to be spotted, compared to going down into the courtyard. You have a lot more risk down there being seen.
Yeah, she'll stick to the way where she is less visible.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna have you do something under fire, and basically the situations here are just a matter. It is a wall. It has been snowing. You're gonna be moving, quickly. So it may not be whether you're spotted or not. It's whether you stay up on the wall. If there's a slippery spot, a bit of ice, or anything like that along the way.
All right.
So yeah, roll plus cool. Okay. So as you got to make your way back down into the hallway and cross through, kind of close your door, make sure it's closed nice and tight. Head back up, and you find yourself at the top of the second tower, and you can look down, and from this distance, you can see the garage. You can see the guys. You see them coming and going, but you can't hear them. You can definitely see them, but you can't hear what they're saying. You're not quite close enough to really gauge who's talking to who, get any other names, but you can definitely see the people moving around the garage. So do you want to stay here on this tower, or do you want to keep going further?
As long as she can have good sight of her targets, she'll stay back.
Okay. So yeah, for you kind of find a spot. How is it that you still keep warm? Like there's something within you that helps to keep you warm. How long does that tend to last?
It depends a bit. If it isn't too cold, she can probably last for a very long time, but she can't survive in the middle of a blizzard.
Okay. Let's see. I'm just looking at what it has for the standard warmth. Yeah. I would say, knowing you, probably staying up here for the rest of the day into the night, not going to be a problem. And it is a tower, so it wouldn't be that difficult if you needed to duck back in there for a little bit, allow yourself to warm up and head back out. So I don't think there's any issue right now, especially since we know that the cold winds are kind of being kept behind the peaks. So for the time being, yeah, you have this spot, and again, you see, Recoil and two other mechanics. They're working on the Jeeps there. It looks like they have some chains that they are in the process of just getting all the grime and dirt and mud and rocks that they've driven over. One of them must have gotten something, some kind of stuff in the engine, because they have the hood open. After a little while, you see a couple other men from Porto, and they come over bringing a drink. It's probably that fermented goat's milk or whatever they have at the tavern. And they seem to have a moment of pour one out for our buddies, the recent dead. Again, Recoil, he kind of stands a bit above the rest of them. He's probably a good 6'5", something like that. Shaved head. He's wearing it's like a gray. It almost looks like a riot suit that's just been carved at, almost just roughed up. It doesn't look very clean. He's got various tools across his chest. Some of them looking handmade. Like you see him, he has this big old hammer that doesn't look like a normal hammer. It looks like he might have ripped out a piece of rebar and, a large piece of cement or something like that. The other members are wearing just kind of standard black outfit, but you take a moment to watch. And with Caravan, you guys continued travel. You make it past the other pinch point, and you get to a point where the peaks start to create this small valley, and you can see that there's still a number of hills. And Peter probably points out as the gray sunlight begins to fade, like a far mountain, kind of saying, okay, that's where we're going. There's a bit of a pine forest that is within this valley. But the area you're walking, it seems like this had been a trail for a long time. There's no trees growing on it. So either someone's making sure it remains clear, or it has just been traveled so many times back in the, before the end days, that trees have not been able to regrow here. But he pulls over for a moment, and they begin, the helpers begin to unload their camping supplies. They have a couple tents. They have dry firewood. They have some basic meal things, and you all begin to set up camp. Look comes over to you, Sam, as they're getting set up, and just says, I'm gonna just do a quick walk around camp, make sure that we have everything set up. He goes into a pocket, and you see he kind of holds out, it looks like a coil of silver wire. Kind of points to this. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything on you. I'm gonna just string this up around camp, just a way to know if anything comes in during the nighttime. If you can help me out once I get over there, I'll just toss it over to you. Make sure you get your side of camp, and we should be fine. And just take a look out. Make sure if there's anything we need to know of, we can do that. And honestly, I think we got enough protection here. As long as none of those snow bears show up, we should be just fine.
Trust me, I got things louder than those snow bears ever could be. They won't be too much of an issue.
So while they're kind of setting up Camp Lark, I guess you hop off for a moment. Is there anything you and Abraham do to kind of set up your own camp, or do you plan on joining the rest of them?
Since we brought them, I don't think there's any reason not to use our own tents and everything. And Lark will definitely help setting up the other tent. Perhaps once that's all done, he will take out his skull and have like a brief sermon, prayer session, something with him and Abraham, and he's going to invite absolutely everyone to come join him.
Right. All right. Well, before we get to that point, I guess Sam, talk to us. You were out there. You've traveled. You've been in a gang. You've had to make camp before. You're familiar with dangerous situations. So what would Sam be doing to prepare herself, but also make sure that the camp, is safe? It's your job to keep them safe. What would you be doing?
Well, first off, she'd obviously help set up that tripwire. That's a very good thing to do with, and she's already liking this guy already, because although he might be slightly cowardly, he's at least useful. So, he's doing okay in her book. Meanwhile, while setting the tripwire, she'd more likely be looking for more of those tracks.
Okay.
Because we're more likely, after all this traveling, we've probably entered into new snow bear territory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best to keep an eye on what might be there, what might not be, any other forms of things we might want to run into, and what we might not want to run into.
Okay, perfect. I think this is an opportunity to read a situation. I think the charred situation is just you are in an unknown area and you're trying to prepare to make sure when the sun goes out and you just have nothing but campfire. There's no boogeyman gonna pop up in the woods. So go ahead and roll sharp here.
Quickly, would Lark be able to help with that? Because he and his followers are travelers as well, so this is a pretty familiar situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you and Abraham probably have your own things, especially because you did exactly this, and the last time you did this, you lost people to snow bears. I think that you two have some very specific things that you're doing, so let's start with that. Go ahead and roll help. Perfect. All right, so you take a +1 on your roll, Sam, so go ahead and roll sharp for me.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. So you have 3 questions, and again, take a +1 forward when acting on these questions. So yeah, ask away.
All right. I'm gonna ask, what's my enemy's true position? Are there any snow bears in the area?
Okay. Yeah. You take a moment, and you do find some tracks, but they're very similar to the tracks you had found by the cave, where they're not fresh, they're not new. They have not been there for a while. And there's just a feeling you're getting from that mountain that old man Peter pointed to. The place you're going to, you better be on your lookout.
All right. Next, I'm gonna ask, what's the best escape route out of this camp in case we need to get everyone bundled up and out of here if something decides to go south?
So the best escape route to continue deeper, or to go back the way you were coming?
To continue on our way.
Right.
Because Sam's not too keen on backtracking.
Luckily, you're literally camping right next to it. This trail that you're on, it goes for a while, and it rides the edges of the hill, so there's not going to be a lot of difficulty for the oxen to make their way. If there's anything blocking the trail, that would be kind of the difficult part. As long as you stay on the trail, that's the easiest escape route. If at any point you get pushed off, then it's going to make life more difficult.
And finally, what should I be on the lookout for?
Okay. You're getting vibes from this valley that maybe you've had before, maybe you haven't. That weird sensation that brought you awake after you thought you were dead, that in a way led you to even join Portum and make your way into these mountains. That sense, the tingling in the back of your neck, it is very present and heavy in this valley. So in a way, be on the lookout for your sanity.
Ooh, that's gonna be fun to deal with. Crazy bitch with a gun. That's gonna be fun.
I just imagine you're like looking for threats, and after everything you experienced, you keep glancing at Lark.
Yeah, a little bit. Shadow Man is not doing too well in her book right now.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of to be expected, but I do not believe you are yet lost.
If that's the case, there's one other thing I'd like to do. Since I'm getting this overwhelming feeling that thinks back to that time when my sister beat my ass black and blue and left me for dead, I want to open my mind back to that feeling, back to that time.
Awesome. Yeah, you feel it. There's something creepy in this valley, so why not open your mind to the same thing and try to get an understanding of it. So yeah, roll that weird for me.
Oh, joy.
Let's dive in.
Oh, wow.
So
you have weird too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's weird.
That surprises me, actually.
Yeah, Sam.
You don't know everything about Sam. Sam's got some
stuff
things back behind her.
Ooh, that makes this interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about it then. Everyone has their own experience with this. What do you do to open your mind? How is Sam opening their mind? For Lark, it's a prayer. For Dusk, it normally happens when she's asleep, kind of in dreams. What is Sam doing?
Well, to open up her mind, Sam is going to sit down in her tent, which is a pretty good distance away from the rest of them. Since she's the lookout, she needs to be the first one to see, and also be the first one to die if shit goes south. She knows that's her role. But she's going to start slowly dismantling her guns and putting them back together piece by piece. With each piece, especially of the shotgun, because that's her oldest gun, each piece having a name written on it. And on that name is, and each name is a member of her old gang. And she thinks back to those old times. About the good times, the bad, all the shit she's had to go through her entire life. And that feeling when what brought her back from the brink of death and what has driven her here to these northern mountains. What has brought her here.
After a while,
yeah,
the metallic clicks of your guns unassembling, it starts to transition to the sound of mugs being placed on counters and glasses clinking together, and a smell kind of wafts into your tent, a smell of sweat and body odor mixed with ale and motor grease. And you're brought back into a tavern, a place, a bar, a hideout that you and your gang spent a lot of time at. What's the name of this place? What was your hold that you'd always return back to with your gang to have a good drink to celebrate your successes?
The old stomping grounds, like I said, they never really had a name, but this tavern did. Well, it wasn't really more of a tavern. It was more of just a get-together. Like friends gathering around for a fire after a good hunt. Which, it got dubbed the Lodge. Based off of what everyone has read back from the old days of how everyone had all these hunting lodges and hunting roofs and always together around the lodge. So, that's what it was. It was just the Lodge. That's all it was called. That's all it needed to be called. Didn't need no fancy names. Wasn't a fancy place. Just a good place for booze, to have fun, enjoy the spoils, enjoy each other, enjoy what little life we could bring out of this shit world.
So, after a moment, you kind of survey the surroundings, kind of recognizing the faces of those members you liked and the members you didn't. Seeing a few members that died a long time ago there, conversing, and back in the far corner, there's a figure that sits there, long, dark black hair, wearing a leather jacket with a black skull just engraved on the back of it. Sitting there, and you begin to approach. Who is this stranger? Why are they here? And as you get within about 5 feet, the figure turns. It's your sister. She sees you. Sam! Get your ass over here. Got things to celebrate. She moves a drink over, sits it down next to an empty seat. Kind of kicks her heel on the table and scoots her chair back. Kind of squeaks. Rests it there. Just kind of watches you as you make your way to the table and sit down.
Yeah, it was a pretty good haul we had, wasn't it, sis? Knocked those fuckers out real good, we did. Didn't have as much as we wanted, but yeah, what can you do? Not all our intel's good. Now we just know who to shoot next. And she's just gonna take the mug and just throw it back.
As you drop the mug, your sister's face is no longer there. You now stare at this emotionless black slab. Still the long hair, still the leather jacket, but there's no longer a feature there. And still speaking in your sister's voice. To speak of past hurrahs is to live in a place of stories. Sam, you wish for better future than tales of ancient deeds. That is why you have come, is it not?
She's just gonna slowly look down into the now empty mug and just kind of slowly move it like there is something in there, even though she knows it's not. It's like, well, you know, I never was that smart, sis. You always were. I just do as I'm told. Shoot what I can, take what I want. That's all we do, you know? Does it come with some cool things? Sure it does. And I certainly do mind me a good spoils here and there. But, what can I say? I just like the thrill.
Do this, being, reaches over and grabs your hand. Sam, you discredit yourself. You are far more than I could have ever been, can be. Far more than I can ever be. And as you adjust to this kind of cold hand touching your hand, you notice that your armor, it's no longer that red. And you take a moment to look it over. You're now wearing your sister's outfit. The being comes closer. You can be more than I can ever be. All of this can be ours. And as it says this, it references to all of the members of the gang who have turned to look at you. You're coming towards a place of, well, much treasure. More than we have ever seen before, but not something we can carry within our pockets. Something you must carry within your heart and your mind. You will know it when you see it. You must take it. Don't let anyone stop. Don't let anyone block you from your way. This will be the beginning of everything.
When has something ever stopped us? Huh, sis?
To the future, and it hands over another mug. Goes to raise to cheers.
Sam takes and slowly raise it, and a bullet to your fucking head. Just takes the drink back, then throws the glass down to the ground after finishing it.
As soon as you consume the drink, you fade back into the bitter cold of this valley, your canteen resting in your hand and shaking free from the smell of the lodge. Feeling a tingling down the back of your neck a bit, but you begin to settle in for the night. And as the sun begins to fade, let's take a quick break, fill in some water, and we'll come back after or once the night has set. Yeah, I think it's a perfect time to come back in and hop back in after a few hours have passed. It is, well, It is another night in the Frozen Heights. The sun has all but disappeared, but the night sky is still something to behold. There's a bit of light pollution within the castle, but I mean, you're just dealing with torches and all that. So even then, looking up when in a cloudless night, it just seems like you can see a dark that you can't quite describe. It seems an endless dark with still some stars, but definitely not as many as we have now, as many of them as have faded. Those of you out in the wilderness, you can even start to see what appears to be just glistening galaxies far away, just things far beyond this place you call home, casting light, glistening up there. Some points may even look a bit familiar to the cave, the flashing eyes of the spiders, but definitely not as much in capacity. At the castle, Dusk, you've been watching for a while. The men of the garage got done with one vehicle. They left for a bit to go get some dinner. You watched them. They went to the tavern. You saw them take a chair outside, eat some kind of meat, come back out, and it seems like they're just trying to make sure everything's prepped, ready to go. It's been a good 3-4 hours of you just watching, and you can tell Recoil, he likes his job. He seems to be, quick when it comes to mechanic work. And one of the other, I guess you could call him a mechanic. He's more of a tinkerer, someone that just kind of messes around with things, that was working on Opie's vehicle, does come over and kind of ask him for advice, ask him what he's supposed to do, since the Emperor had paid for everything they needed, making sure they had as much information as they can. But they don't seem to leave very often. Your attention gets drawn away as you start to notice 2 by 2 members of the Legion enter into the hallway below you and exit carrying bags, boxes, and they keep doing this, just 2 by 2. They don't crowd in there. There's never more than 2 inside at a time. But they'll go in, they'll grab a load of supplies, pick them up, and they'll start taking them towards the keep.
I guess I'll read the situation again.
Okay. Absolutely.
Ooh.
So as you're sitting there, watching all of these individuals going through, you start to hear some banging, and your attention's drawn up to the doorway on the other side by the tower. And there is Monk, a bit of lumber leaned up against the wall, holding a board across the doorway, and is in the process of hammering this board across the door to lock it closed. You can see that Ace is by one of the houses near the doorway down below you, and he has a bit of lumber as well. It looks like he's waiting for these men to get the last few supplies out of storage, and he probably plans on doing the same thing.
So they're boarding up the storage.
That's right. Yeah, it looks like they're emptying the storage and boarding it up.
Okay. Nothing I can do about it right now.
So as you turn your attention away, you notice that at the moment Recoil's alone in the garage. You can see his legs peeking out from underneath the Jeep. You watch as the two other men walk away towards the tavern area. It's not clear how much time they have, but your survey of the surrounding is that for the moment you have recoil. He is alone and by himself. The Legion guards their watches, they're focused either outside the main gate itself or they're just not in this area for the time being. What would you like to do?
I'll walk down to the garage.
Okay. Are you I guess how do you want to get to the garage? The wall itself, you're about 15 feet up from the tower, getting down to the wall. It's a bit of a climb, something you've done before. And then the top of the garage kind of rests a little bit below the wall. So do you get out kind of onto the roof of the garage and then get down to the ground, or you just kind of find your way up on top of the garage to see what's going on a bit closer?
No, I'll take the I think it's the first way you described, like jump to the roof of the garage, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just go from there into the garage.
As you get towards the edge of the garage and look down, you can see that the hood of the Jeep is open, and you can kind of see down into the engine a little bit, and it's unclear what Recoil is doing, but he's working on something on the bottom of the engine. You can see his toes kind of sticking out again. The dark kind of, they look like leather pants, thick, combat boots. And he has a tray of tools kind of off to the side that every once in a while he'll reach over, he'll grab a different tool. Now that you're closer, you can tell these are just scavenged tools. A lot of them are rusted. It looks like, again, nothing is probably working as good as it should be, but somehow he's able to make it work. You hear scrapes and the sound of a wrench, pulling, tightening, different pans being shifted around. Right now, you're probably about a good, 5 feet above the top of this Jeep, where the hood is, and an extra, 5 feet from, or I guess about another 3 feet from ground. So, about 8-10 feet up from where you're at now, just looking down on them. The lights coming from inside the garage. There's a lantern, that's glowing. He has another lantern down on the ground, kind of shining underneath the Jeep. So there's definitely some heavy shadows kind of on the back side of the Jeep. Most of the shadows are underneath or towards the front of the car. Looking kind of back into the garage from the roof, kind of peeking down, you see the rafters where you had hid during that actual fight. And there is another Jeep and a four-wheeler that's been parked in there. There's a couple wagons as well. But it looks like those two have been, all the work that was done to them is already done. They're, tucked in. They look all closed. But you don't see anyone else. And again, the only person you see right now is Recoil.
So I was basically thinking on using the Jeep somehow to kill him off.
Right, of course.
I feel like this has suddenly turned into a Hitman level.
I thought about that for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would ask how. You definitely can see that it's lifted up. It's up on jacks. It's been lifted. He wouldn't be able to skirt under there just with it down. So the front end has been lifted up. How would you go about, using the Jeep? What would Dusk know about vehicles, I guess, to know, other than it's a big, heavy object?
Probably not much.
Okay.
I do have, like, my pain wave projector, which goes off like a grenade.
True. And again, you do have a +1 forward when it comes to any rolls, just based on this was one of the answers you received. So that is a bonus towards anything you're doing.
I mean, if I had more powers, like actual psychic powers, I could probably try to psychically move the thing from under the jeep and let it fall on the guy, but I think that would be too cheap. So yeah, I'll probably use the painwave projector to just cause a fuzz on the place.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's a few options here. You can do that, which is definitely going to affect him directly, and then figure out a way to make it look like the Jeep was one that caused him the pain, or just using the Jeep, whether you're jumping on top of it, jumping on, trying to kick the blocks out so it falls on top of them, something like that, using the weight of the vehicle to crush him. That would be another option. I guess in your mind,
because
right?
because
You're
the painwave projector is also loud, right?
right. Like it's gonna go off like an explosion. You did this before, and it blew out the windows of the church, and it definitely caused a lot of people to come over. And it also, you may not know necessarily if this is enough to kill this individual, because it does what, 2 armor piercing, I think.
1 harm, armor piercing, but
Yeah.
I have not to be fucked with.
Right. So it's hard to tell. He seems like a strong individual. So either way, because just when you use a vehicle as a weapon, normally this is when it's moving, but I could say this would work as well. This would be probably...
I mean, falling counts as moving.
Right. So this would definitely be a direct hit from a moving vehicle, inflicts 3 harm armor piercing. So that is probably enough to kill him. It's just a matter of how do you get the vehicle to do that.
I guess I'll keep the painwave projector, then I'll try to go down and pull the monkey, is it called, right?
So you have basically the vehicle's been lifted up on jacks, so there's a mechanism.
Yeah, jacks.
Yep, and then there's a few blocks down behind the back tires that are just stopping it from rolling backwards because it's kind of angled up. It's lifted up, probably a good 1.5 feet off the ground. Yeah, and it definitely looks like he's in the process of, he's pulled something off the bottom of the engine. So dropping it down, it's going to have enough force that he's right underneath the engine. There's not enough clearance for him to be safely underneath this vehicle. But getting to the jacks and getting them released, that's your situation. Basically, that is the problem that you have at the moment.
Okay, so I guess this is read a stitch again.
Perfect. Yeah, so you're kind of looking over your options to figure out what's going to give you the best advantage. So, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want, you can either use your +1 towards this roll, as now basically your +1 was to figure out who your biggest enemy is, your most vulnerable enemy is, and now you're trying to figure out what's the best way to kill him. So if you want to use the +1 here, you definitely can.
All right, I will do that. +1.
Okay, so a 10. So you have your 3 questions.
I already had the 1. So...
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the questions. Okay, so I guess I'll ask the first one, but in the sense that how do I get the car to fall on him?
Right. So what should I be on the lookout for, basically?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, where you're at, the easiest way is going to be to get to the rafter and literally just jump on top of one of the levers. And by jumping on it, it's going to release the pressure, causing the vehicle to fall down. You could try to get down to the ground and just manually release it, but that's going to require a bit more stealth than just getting to the rafters is. So either way, a sheer amount of force on either side, either one of these levers. Yes, it is a fairly small bar, but you're a fairly small person. Will release the vehicle, or you can get down there and literally just press. There's a release button on it, and that will release it as well.
I'll use the stealth approach.
To get down to the ground.
And release the lever, yeah.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So as you begin, you kind of go to the edge and you swing yourself down to the rafters and you go to the back of the car to find yourself in darkness. I'm gonna have you roll cool, and basically I'm gonna kind of come up with a something more than just act under fire. So like on a 10+, no problem. You slip by unnoticed. On a 7 to 9, you kind of have a choice. You realize that going any further will draw attention, so you either have the option to stop right away, reassess the situation, get away unnoticed, or keep going and get a chance to silence, or stop the person from noticing you. Might be recoil, might be someone else, whatever the case might be. On a miss, he's gonna know you're there, and we'll deal with that. We'll have you roll plus cool. So it's like acting under fire, but there's gonna be a couple tiers that can come in here.
All right.
So as you begin to walk by, he reaches out and goes to grab a tool, but as he does it, he knocks the lantern over, and just from it falling on its side, it casts light back towards your direction, and he sees your feet there, and it freaks him out because it's a bare white feet, like standing right behind the car, just appearing from the dark, and he immediately just pulls himself out from underneath the Jeep, and he doesn't even want to see what it was. He's just immediately running away from the garage. He just pulls himself out and begins to run towards any one that's there, probably towards the tavern. Because he thinks he just saw a ghost or something. There's something creepy in the garage, and he's not a fan.
Okay, so can I use the Winter's Whistling Winds on him?
Oh, you absolutely can. Yeah.
All right. Oh.
Oh boy. Well, you get your puppet string, and I have to refamiliar myself with this. Let's see. Winter's Whistling Winds on a 10+. Let's see. Message and vampire. Okay. Yeah, what is the message you're giving him?
Stop.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and you have that puppet string over them, and immediately, he doesn't know why, he locks up, and he's only made it maybe 15 feet away from the garage. No one's noticed it quite yet. He's stopped there, and he's hesitated. He's refusing to turn around. But yeah, he's there. He's kind of out in the open a little bit, but he's stopped running.
Okay. I still have the puppet string, right?
You do. That's correct.
Okay, so the command is go back to work.
Okay. So if he refuses, remind me again, what's the stick to your command?
He can refuse the puppet string?
Correct. So it's a carrot carrot stick kind of situation from what I recall. Let's see. Let me pull up your move here, and I might be recalling it wrong. Let's just take a look. So basically at your will, no matter the circumstance, you can spend your hold 1 for 1 to either inflict 1 harm, or they take is -1. Now, if they fulfill your command, that counts for all of your remaining holds. So basically, those are the carrot sticks. Basically, if he does what you tell him to, then you lose that hold and he just does it. If he refuses, then you can choose to either inflict your harm, basically saying, okay, you shouldn't have done that, now you're going to hurt. Or if it's a player, they take -1 towards whatever they're doing towards you. So your thing is for him to go back to command. Do you move yourself out of the way, or does, like, if he turns around, is he going to see you standing there still?
No, I'm going to hide.
Okay. Yeah, I think if he doesn't see you, yeah, I think he does. I think you probably, before he heads over, though, like, you definitely see him turn and begin to walk back to the garage. But just before he gets back to work, he whistles real loud, and you can see his 2 other workers kind of notice across in the tavern and begin to kind of pack up what they were doing and are probably going to head over his way. But he goes back to the Jeep, kind of leans on the front bumper looking down and picks up a tool, and he doesn't go underneath it again. He just picks up a tool and begins tightening some bolts on the top of the engine. It looks like he was probably trying to fix a hose or something that was ruptured underneath. So he still has some work on the top. That for now, that's what he's doing. But you have a couple minutes. You're still there. Where did you hide? Did you go up to the rafters? Did you hide just kind of back behind the other vehicles in the garage?
Yeah, behind the vehicles.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're kind of looking through the windows at all this, and you're back in the shadows. You can see the 2 other folks. They're just finishing up probably some meals and just getting rid of their plates and all that, and we'll be over here in just a couple minutes. But as we kind of transition from that scene, we'll go back over to the caravan, and with night setting, Lark, what is your normal camping schedule? Do you still plan to kind of be on watch yourself? Do you plan to rest? What kind of things would you be talking with Abraham about?
Forgot to unmute myself for a second. So it's probably been quite a while since Lark has slept this far away from his followers, and it's different being among those who don't serve under him or follow him, or whatever term you wish to use. Lark, you know what? It's a new situation. He hasn't experienced in a long time. Lark's a little bit uncomfortable. A great way for Lark to get comfortable is to pray.
Right, of course, and that you had actually said you're going to do that. You're going to have a bit of a prayer.
Yes, so Lark is going to find a spot to actually rest the skull that's kind of up so everyone can see. He's going to get Abraham over, because Abraham's definitely going to take part in this. And he's going to turn to the rest of the caravan and just say, does anyone else wish to take part in the prayers before we rest?
Yeah, I mean, I think, honestly, everyone. Look has a job right now. He's on watch. But Old Man Peter, he's got a bit of a superstition, so why not? Fauna and Z, they have to. They're kind of the helper. So they probably make their way over, they're interested to see what this is all about. Sam, you hear this? Do you have any interest in joining the Shadow Man in his prayer?
You don't want her to join. So new.
Oh, but I do. But I so do. And Lark will
Well,
even
she's
call out,
not interested.
Sam, you any interest in partaking?
Just gonna slowly look, still wearing her armor and mask. And this time she's cleaning the assault rifle as she slowly clicks in the magazine very loudly. As if that's her answer to that.
I see you're taking your job very seriously. That's good. Another time then. And Lark turns to everyone. For those of you that have not prayed with us before, it's a simple matter. Just relax, open your mind, let the entity's influence caress you, and think about what you can do to make the world better.
Yeah.
And if you
Go ahead.
and if you experience anything strange, please talk about it. These things often have meaning that can be confusing at first, but meaning that is understandable with practice.
You see Peter, Fauna, and Z in various understandings of what you're saying. Peter has kneeled down. He has his hands kind of on his knees, very much like a kind of an Islam prayer. Fauna definitely has the yoga butterfly kind of sitting down on the ground. She has her hands on her legs and she has her chin kind of tilted up. And Z just feels uncomfortable. He's kind of sitting there a bit twitchy. For a moment, you see him like grasp his hands in prayer, and then that doesn't work. So he then does something. He tries to maybe do the sign of the cross, but he doesn't know what the cross is necessarily across his chest. Then he just kind of sits there and stares at you for a moment.
The boy is just several levels of awkward discomfort. All right, Lark kind of smiles to Z specifically before getting down on his knees, looking up at the skull. And since he's not holding the skull this time, he kind of partially holds his hands out towards the skull. And he is going to open his brain.
Righty, right. What are you opening your brain to at this moment? What are you basically asking for guidance or instructions
on? Right now, Lark is... He's not terribly worried about the snow bears. He's not terribly concerned about meeting with Princeys and this group. He's confident that'll go quite well. Right now, he's very interested in this Sam character. There seems to be... He's thinking that Sam's here for a reason. It just seems so many things lined up for Sam to be here now. So he's very interested in inciting Sam and even the other members of the caravan. He is always looking for ways to convert people.
Perfect. Yeah. Let's go ahead and roll that weird.
All right. Nice.
All right.
That 10% margin for failure has not bit me yet.
Okay. So yeah, good detail. It takes you a moment. But as the cold air begins to breeze across your neck, you feel that presence before you. You open your eyes, and strangely, you don't find yourself in a different place. The entity is standing there before you. That skull that had been placed, it's no longer a skull. It is the entity sitting on the stump of a tree that you'd been found. Its legs crossed, one elbow resting across it and looking down upon you. You've already add more members to our sessions. That is good. That is good. But there's one that, well, still confuses you.
Yes, Sam's... I know it is not a mere coincidence that a warrior such as herself should appear, and though Rourke has served faithfully, though I have many members willing to fight and die for your cause, I lack something that I have seen the Emperor possess. I lack a champion. You lack a true champion of your faith, and perhaps Sam has the potential to be that champion. All of these people, the caravan, and those back at the castle, not one of them has shown the same qualities Sam has.
Yes, Lark, there. You've been around. You've heard stories. You've read many old tales. You know what we are capable when we are in great number. And with great number, we will become. Sam... Well, Sam is still confused. Like a sheep, away from its flock, needing direction to find its place once more. They are lost, with no family. They are proud, and they are hopeful, and they are strong. Yes. I do have need of this, Sam, as I have need of many others. There's a darkness on this world. We are bringing the light to it as we can, but it is getting stronger, and with it we must become stronger. Sam will make us stronger. There will be an opportunity very soon. As it says that, you see a bit of blue light flicker back over its shoulder up against the mountain that you're heading to. An opportunity for Sam to touch and become attached to what she needs at this time, the right tool for her, or the right prize she may be seeking. Help her with this. Guide her. Allow her to see past, well, the meaningless things of the day-to-day, to the greater things beyond, the greater things that we will all have, the world that we will bring to bear.
Very, very, very wonderful. There seems to be only darkness in Sam's soul, but as you've taught me before, light shines brightest in the dark. I shall find this light. I will take this spark. I will create an inferno, and with it, a champion of holy fire.
Be sure to take what you need as well. As it says that, it reaches out to push you down, and you find yourself falling down below the waters, assuming the same thing that always happens where this water fills your lungs. But this time when you gasp for air, you don't find yourself kneeling. You find yourself arising from the pool that you had witnessed Princey arising from. You have a glimpse of the many faces as they stare upon you. For a moment, you see all of their eyes turn black. And then you find yourself being forced back into your own sense of self as the cold wind rushes across your face, and you hear Z just ruffling behind you, kind of agitating you to a point as they just won't sit still. They're just their jacket is making that little sound as they're just moving around. You were there.
Is anyone looking at Lark funny? He's gonna be making sure there's no knife to his throat this time.
As you look around, no one's looking at you funny. To be honest, it doesn't seem like any of these three other individuals are all that familiar with the Maelstrom or what the weird actually is. So they're just listening. And there might be a bit of awkward silence as you just sit there in silence in prayer. And, you know, they've gone through their own thoughts of what prayer means and how they can be good people in this world. And that was a very short conversation within themselves. But yeah, they're trying to be respectful of the situation.
All right. Would this be an appropriate time to roll the entity's insight?
Sure. Yeah.
Because I got all these people here. It seems like a good time to kind of ram my point home and see if I can
absolutely
collect a few of them. Nice.
Perfect. Yeah. So you get both. So it's a +1 forward ×2 towards getting any followers, and a -1 if anyone attempts to do anything towards you. So as you come out of this, I think, Sam, if you had been watching from a distance, you know, kind of side glances, you would have seen Lark's shadow grow and appear to sit on a log for a bit. And then, you know, go back to where shadow should have been. It doesn't dance around as much as it did before, but it definitely moves once more. But as he turns to stand, he just looks like a man that knows what's going on. He has that chip on his shoulder a little bit.
She'll see that. Just look at that. Just like, kind of like, what the hell? I just put the assault rifle and start sharpening her knives. Like, what? Nope.
So, Lark, as you stand there, Abraham goes to, basically kind of try to get everyone's attention, like open your eyes. You know, he's about to talk, probably elbows Z in the side. But you look over, you have three individuals that, again, are trying to be respectful but a bit confused. And, of course, Abraham is familiar. So, having been with you recently, has he been a part of any other recruiting sessions, or is this kind of unfamiliar? I know there's probably been a few at the castle, but...
There've probably been a few at the castle, but there's been a lot going on at the castle, so I doubt efforts have been as successful as they could be.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, I think the last time there would have been a recruitment session since we had Abraham was Ashtown.
Right,
which
right, yeah.
We probably got him in the recruitment session prior to that.
Right.
So he probably hasn't quite seen that. And a lot of things have changed for Lark as well, so this might not be familiar to even some of the older cult members.
Mm-hmm.
As Lark gets up, he looks at everyone. Blessed be me on this day, meeting with the entity twice. And he grabs the skull off the log. He looks around the people here praying with him, and he looks to Z. He grabs Z's hand, pulls it towards him, and puts the skull in Z's hand. And he just says, "What is it do you see? What is it that you feel? What are your desires? The entity wishes to know all and will know all."
Of course, I feel he looks over you for a moment, feel warmth and acceptance.
Lark doesn't even really let him go further. Lark, I'm gonna read a person here.
Okay, perfect.
Let's see if this goes horribly wrong or not. Do I get a? I didn't really add +1. Do I get a +1 for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think this is going towards you trying to gain him in your group. So it's still 7. Get one question.
So, read a person. I think the most effective question would be, what is this character really feeling? Because Lark, I mean, he's obviously done this for quite a long time. He sees this young man, seems a little bit lost in the world, and he wants to know, how is this individual feeling? Because once I know that, I can begin to exploit those feelings.
Right. So Z's not all that young, mid-40s.
Oh, mid-40s.
Yeah,
a lot older than I thought he was.
He's definitely older, you know. And worn out. He's been part of this caravan for a while. At the moment, he's optimistic. He's hopeful. He wants to believe that there is something more out there. He's heard all these stories that Old Man Peter has said from all these strange encounters he's had, and he wants to believe that they're all for a purpose. But he's also just heard a lot of crazy people talk about their gods, their beliefs, and for the most part, he's just seen it as a way to get quick cash, a way to get money, a way to get control. So there's a slight bit of hesitation, but for the most part, it's just optimism of, maybe this is the one.
All right, that's exactly what Lark wants to hear. He says, You, Z, you feel lost. You feel like you've been let down so many times. Let me tell you right now, this is not one of those times. You are on the cusp of grasping something you have been looking for your entire life. You are so close, you don't even realize it. I beg you right now, when we return to the castle, seek me out. Find my cult and take what you have desired all along.
There's definitely a smile that begins to form on his face. He kind of nods his head. Oh, yeah, that's... But then he remembers that his boss is sitting right behind him, and like his face changes immediately. You can tell he's trying to be polite. Absolutely. Yes, I...
Does Lark notice him kind of like that realization? Like,
yeah.
So Lark's gonna look up to Old Man Peter, who no doubt heard absolutely everything he just said, and looks at Peter. I do not intend to take this man away from you. I simply wish him to have an experience he has desired for a very long time. I think that this is the beginning of a very beneficial mutual relationship between us. I don't imagine you'd mind staying at the castle for a bit just to give Z this opportunity. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? As I'm going to roll the manipulate.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. He's got a 9 with that
Do
one.
you want to use your other forward with this?
I might as well. I don't think I'm going to
Okay.
have another opportunity to use it, so.
Absolutely. So yeah, for a 10 plus, I go along with you. Yeah, I think as soon as you're saying this, old man Peter kind of gets up. It takes him a little while. His body's pretty wide. He stands up. He walks over. He puts his arm around Z. You know what? I've been trying to get this one to just find something. He's. You know what? I think this will do him good. Now, as long as he can just, get his work done, I don't mind who he spends his time with beyond that. And to be honest, I think after this trip, I could use a bit of a break. It's been too long. So you know what, Z? Absolutely. This Lark fellow, you all seem like good folk. Haven't had any problems with you. I haven't heard of any problems. You
Unfortunately,
have my permission.
Lark kind of nods at that, and he just says, "We have issues with, as everyone does, but the problems of mice and men, right?" Lark's saying that, knowing really not exactly what it means, but it sounds smart, so he uses it.
And again, Peter's like, I've heard that saying before. I understand that reference. Don't know very much Captain America me. I know that.
Just shifty eyes. I know what that means.
Uh-huh.
So Lark kind of smiles at that. And maybe you yourself. Not everyone thinks of us the same, but we, despite our nomadic ways, we know how to be hospitable, if nothing else.
And I truly appreciate that. I have been, I won't lie, I've seen many folk, good folk, having their own beliefs, and I think that is a wonderful, a beautiful thing for us to still have that semblance of the greater, the unknown, community. That's what it's all about, right? It's all about just having family, and you know what? That's what I have here. And he kind of references to the caravan. This is my, what'd you call it? This is my entity. The people that live with me, that work with me, the experiences we have together, that is what keeps me going day to day. I truly look forward to experiencing and hearing everything you have to say, Lark. I think this entity individual, he certainly sounds interesting. You can tell he's saying that as if he's just referencing it towards a long list of other things he's just heard people call their gods before.
Right,
but he's not trying to be rude about it. He's just being blunt. Like, I've heard other people do
and Lark
this.
probably recognizes that. There have probably been current members of his cult that did that at the initial start, but yeah, he knows how to get his way in there and make them see the way things really are. If Sam, like, I just imagine Sam, like, taking one quick little peek over, and you see these people standing apart from one another, but their shadows are shaking hands.
I'm gonna make Sam ignore that, because if she sees that, she's gonna start shooting. That means that shit spreads. That is a virus that must be dealt with. So she's just sharpening her knives and does not see any of this.
We're gonna have to call Sam Captain Hook, because as soon as those shadows become disattached, it's a whole.
Oh boy.
It's a whole situation.
It's like that scene from the old Disney movie where that one guy's singing. Next thing you know, he just pulls out a gun and pop. Let's see now, where was I?
So yeah, I think we fade from that. We kind of look back. Fauna's still sitting there in the yoga position, still not exactly sure what's going on, and I think the group of you four men maybe forget about you're just kind of excited. Z's interested. You're having a conversation with Old Man Peter. Abraham's all about you, Lark, and like this scene fades with just a bit of snow like beginning to pile up on Fauna's nose as she's still just sitting there, not quite sure what to do, and not quite sure that it's over.
And meanwhile, Lark is just there like hook, line, and sinker.
Right. We transitioned back into the castle, and so you've been watching for a little while, Dusk. The two other individuals have come back with recoil. Over time, you learn that it's a man named Isle and another man named Wisher. They're both covered in oil. It's easy to tell who's from Portum because they just look unwashed, but they have a bit more, like, the scars of the Legion where they mark themselves. It's all in order. These guys have scars, but it's just from stupid stuff like getting into a knife battle because you sleep with someone's wife, or getting shot because you forgot how to reload your gun. Like, they just have a bunch of stupid injuries that don't look good. They're ugly. A bunch of ugly looking dudes. But they come over, and Recoil's just telling them a ghost story. Like, this place is haunted. There's a ghost here, and they're definitely talking a little bit about what they've heard at the tavern, the Winter's Wraith. It's a bunch of kind of intoxicated men talking about ghosts. It's ghost story time. But yeah, what would Dusk like to do now? You got all three here.
Painwave projector could be useful.
True, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely an option you have.
What to do? Because I was thinking, like, in maybe leading away. Sorry, leading away one of them, but they're all together talking, so it's probably not.
They're all standing at the front of the Jeep. They got the two lanterns still around them, so they're like in the only fully lit part of the garage at the front of the lifted Jeep, and just talking. As guys do, there's one probably leaning on one of the beams up to the rafter, another just leaning on the back of the Jeep and just having a conversation. Again, Isle and Wisher, they're both kind of intoxicated, so they're laughing more, but it's the uncomfortable laugh, like, whatever, Recoil, you're just joking with you, just shitting with us, yeah, the stories we heard at the tavern about this Winter's Wraith, these people, they're just crazy. They're too high up. They're getting too cold. Their brains are all frozen. They're all getting dumb. But you can tell Recoil, he's still freaked out. Like, I know I saw there was a white foot there, and you actually, as he mentions like a foot at the back of the Jeep, there's a bit of like recognition as he like picks up the lantern and he begins to walk towards the back of the Jeep to see if there's actually footprints there in the mud and the snow. Is he gonna find any footprints?
I mean, if there's snow in there, probably.
It's like dirt, so it's not. It's probably some snow from where it blew in, but the rest of it, it's like dirt, mud. It's soft soil. It's not, necessarily too hard.
It's probably not immediately noticeable, but I mean, there's likely something there.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think, as he goes to the back, like, he leans down and he sees something. Like, I don't think it's necessarily a footprint, right? Like, maybe it's just the heel of your foot and that's it. He doesn't see toes. And there's something. He calls Isle and Wisher over, and Wisher almost has to hold himself up on the wall just because he leaning over gets him to be too busy. And they just spend a little while staring at what could be a tool that fell off a shelf or maybe a footprint. Recoil is doing everything he can to be like, guys, this is where the ghost stood. We have proof. And neither of the other two are believing him. They just think it's just another divot in this dirt ground.
So none of them are under the car, right?
No, they're all outside of it still. No one's gone back underneath.
Yeah. I really don't want to draw too much attention because, I mean, the Emperor does know that Dusk can do weird stuff like suddenly creating explosions, like at the church.
Yep.
So that's...
Yeah, the Emperor actually has probably a fairly decent idea what Dusk can do, especially because if I recall, Lark kind of hinted at greater abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever you did last time actually worked out fairly well.
Okay. I think I'll go another route. I'll try to create some diversion. I was looking at the battle moves, and there's like the subterfuge moves. But I'm not sure if it would be how I could use one of them in this situation.
Basically, the very first one, well, you could use either. Basically, you're the bait, so you're basically trying to draw your prey towards you, or you're the mouse. So when you're the bait, roll plus cool. On a 10 plus, choose 2. On a 7 to 9, choose 1. The choices are: you draw your prey all the way into the trap, otherwise they only approach. Your prey doesn't suspect you, otherwise they're wary and alert. You don't expose yourself to extra risk, otherwise any harm your prey inflicts is +1. On a miss, the MC chooses +1 for you. When you're the mouse, you roll plus cool. On a 10 plus, you escape clean and leave your hunter hunting. On a 7 to 9, your hunter catches you out, but only after you've led them to a place of your choosing, say where. So I would say it's probably the first one. You're trying to draw someone into a trap. So you'd have to kind of tell me a little bit about what the trap is and who you're trying to draw there, and then we can roll that you're the bait move. So right now, you're sitting in the back of the warehouse. You probably have a good 10 feet between you and them. You've had to move back behind the other Jeep a little bit just because the lantern light is kind of casting light a bit further back than it was before. There's really only these 3 vehicles and again a couple wagons at the back. You could easily get up to the rafters. You've done it before. You would know that again. I guess one of the vehicles still in here is the truck, the Ashtown truck. That's still in here. But you could easily get up to the rafters or get outside. So,
it's here minus a window.
Right, exactly. It's here minus a window. So right now you have 2 Jeeps next to each other, a 4-wheeler and a truck from Ashtown sitting there, a flatbed, truck that probably still has it. There's no lumber still in it, but it still has like the splinters of the windows. Like no one's touched it. It's just been sitting here. There's probably some blood still on the window from where the face went
blood,
through it.
Broken glass.
Yeah, it hasn't been cleaned up. So that's kind of your situation. The closest person to you is Recoil. The most vulnerable, I would say. I don't know. I guess, do you want to start by reading the situation to figure out what you want to do, or do you have an idea of who exactly you want to be coming for you, or all 3? It could be.
She's probably going to go for all 3 of them, but not all at the same time.
Okay. So maybe let's talk about, surveying your surroundings. What would be Dusk's best location to set a trap? What kind of trap would it be? Is it a matter of just getting them close enough for you to touch them? Is that pretty much what it is?
I mean, I'm not sure. Do the moves have like a cooldown? Because I used like the Winter's Whistling Winds on.
No. It's all based off of the situation. So when it comes to these games, basically, it's all about the narration. You talk about what your character is actually doing. So it's possible for moves to happen frequently if the situation would make sense for them to happen frequently. So I wouldn't say there's a cooldown. There just has to be opportunity for, the Whispering Winds to take place. And as you continue to roll, it just brings up the possibility for fails. So yes, you can continue to roll it, but you're just bringing up more opportunities for something bad to happen.
Okay. I guess I'll read the stitch. Try to find a place where like I can corner them or something.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, trying to set up your trap. You have your prey. Now you need to set the trap. So absolutely, let's read a situation.
And I level up again. Amazing.
Sweet. All right. So I guess for this one, I guess what should I be on the lookout for? Or yeah, which one is it? If it's not that one, what other one would it be?
Yeah, I guess what I should be on the lookout for.
Well, I guess again, my question is, how do you want to kill them? Because that will help me determine the best location to set the trap.
I mean, the most ideal way of killing them would be like make it seem like an accident, but yeah, basically the best option. But otherwise, she'll probably have to find another way.
You can always get them to go to the top of the wall again.
I mean,
True.
To the top of the wall. Oh, and have them jump off.
That would take some time. You'd have to touch each of them individually, or
yeah,
whisper each of them.
I mean,
so
last resort, I can confront them directly, but it's not really something I want to do. Like at least not against 3 people.
So very much kind of like a hitman. The best way, reading this situation, what you need to do is, while they are investigating this possible footprint behind the Jeep, you need to get control over one of them to remove the blocks, allow the Jeep to slide back and crush their skulls up against the back of the wall. And then figure out what you're going to do with the one that you controlled. Since they will have, moved the cinder blocks, they aren't going to be in the way of the Jeep. But, yeah.
Okay, so since yeah, them names, I can't remember them. What was the name of the guy that was fixing the truck?
So Recoil was the one fixing the truck.
Recoil, yeah.
Yeah,
so
Recoil
Recoil
and Wisher were the two drunken folk that
Recoil
just
and
came back.
Wisher, okay. So Recoil is taking a look at the footprint, so he is probably not the best choice to go and release the lever. Which one is the one closest to the lever?
Wisher, he's kind of stabilizing himself up against the wall, just because he seems to be the most intoxicated. Like, just leaning over looking at this foot, or whatever he thinks it is causing him to get a bit dizzy.
Okay, so Winter's Whistling Winds on him.
Alright. Well, that weird.
Nice.
There you go. Alright, so your command is to go release the lever.
Exactly.
Awesome. So as you send this whisper out, you see Wisher pop up. again, like a chill just ran down his spine. And they're still going, you know. Isle moves back and like kneels down right by the bumper. He and Recoil just looking at this footprint that's just standing at the edge of the car. And like it's nothing. Wisher goes over and just kicks out the block. And the car just lurches backwards, and with a crash and a bang, this massive vehicle, the full weight of the Jeep, slams into the bodies of both Recoil and Isle. And there's just a squishing sound, and that's about all you hear. As soon as that happens, like, there's a brief moment where Wisher seems to recognize it and maybe even tries to go and like grab the Jeep to stop it, but you still have your puppet string over him, so it's already going to crash into them. It's a matter on now what you want to do with him.
You can just spend your hold to inflict harm, like, regardless, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted something more personal.
Right.
But I'm not sure if it's a good idea because it will ruin the whole accident thing. Like I was planning on drawing him to me and then stab him to death with a knife.
Right.
But then they find the body and they'll obviously know that everything was sabotaged.
True.
Oh.
It doesn't necessarily have to be an immediate command either. You can leave the situation as it is, only to say, like, meet me at a certain point. Or, I mean, technically, you can tell someone, as you did with Windjammer, to kill themselves. And depending on how powerful their mind is, they might.
Okay.
So many great options when your power is mind control.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lark would be
So
very
one person
frightened of all this.
So one person talks their way into your mind, one person breaks their way into the mind, and the other one blows your mind across the pavement.
Okay, so I'll give him the order to climb one of the towers and just jump off into the courtyard head first. And Dusk is going to follow him to witness the event.
So, like, go out front and just run into it? Like, trying to dive into the engine, kind of? Or
No,
I guess just repeat, say the order one more time?
Have him climb one of the towers and jump headfirst into the courtyard.
Right, okay. So...
They appear like a suicide.
Right, you have to follow him. It was a pretty loud sound. Like, you hear the bang of the car hit, and so you quickly follow Wisher as he starts running away from the garage towards, the doorway to get into the tower. You quickly get back up onto the roof of the garage and head over to the wall to kind of watch this. He gets around this middle wall and sees like that other door has been blocked off. And by this point, some people have started to kind of make their way towards the garage. And you see him just start to scale the wall, like climbing up the wall. Ace was there putting the last couple nails up against the door. Now both doors to the storage have been locked. And he sees this and he's like confused because these walls are not necessarily all that easy to climb. You can do it, but they're slippery. But this guy is determined to get up to the wall. And as soon as he gets up to the wall, he continues up into the tower. And by this point, I think a few people have probably reached the garage. And you're just watching it from two angles. You're watching the people, like the crowd, begin to form around this infamous garage. And the tower that he is heading up to, and you're hearing the people like start crying out like, there's people dead here. Get the Medicaid. Bring help. And Ace is kind of yelling at this stranger from Portum. He probably doesn't even know his name. Like, get down from there. Don't go up there. And just as he reaches the top of the tower, he goes up to one of the ledges and just leaps off. And everyone just kind of turns as this shape in dark clothing leaps and lands hardly in the snow. It's hard to tell. You don't see blood, but you definitely see enough of an impact to assume he's not coming back from that. So as the chaos breaks out in the castle, let's head over to the lovely slumber of the caravan.
I just imagine the Emperor like looking outside, like, why did I bring these guys here? They all suck.
Right? They're all just dying. Like, what is going on?
This was supposed to be like his strike team. How have we not been invaded? They've been guarding the front gate.
Right? So Sam, you've been kind of keeping to yourself, you know, watching out over the camp and hearing the joyous conversations of Lark and Old Man Peter and all those folks. But after a while, you've been working for a while, and you start to feel it. You start to feel a bit tired, a bit drowsy. You definitely feel like you're wanting to just let the sleep take you. You know that look. You know, you can take first watch, allow you to get a bit of rest.
In that case, probably gonna grab Look and make him do first watch.
Right.
And something that I think only Lark would probably notice this, honestly, because he's probably the only one who's actually been keeping an eye on Sam. You'll notice one thing.
He's over there just glancing over on occasion.
As Sam's going into the tent to rest, you'll notice that she starts to take the helmet off as she's going in. That's when you start to see the golden hair just slowly fall out. The long, feminine golden hair just before it vanishes into the tent.
Lark makes a note of that.
And she's gonna rest for the evening.
So as you begin to sleep, at first, darkness. But after a little while, you start to hear whispers. And you can't quite tell if it's coming from your dream or coming from outside. You're still just seeing darkness.
Immediately gonna start feeling around for the shotgun.
As soon as you move, you feel a pinch on your neck and start to feel intense cold flowing down through your veins, and you find your right hand that had been reaching become paralyzed for a moment. And as this cold begins to take your body and almost lock it in place, you start to feel like you're slipping a bit. I'm gonna have you roll plus weird as you begin to be forced into, well, a strange place within your mind.
Oh boy.
Oh dear. Oh wait, did I get +1 earlier?
You did, yep.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna use that here. Because I'm afraid what might happen if it goes poorly.
That sounds good.
I don't know why I'm excited about this. I have a spider on me too.
Well, the thing is, the spider likes you. Last spider I saw,
Well, supposedly.
I kind of wasted.
You're using your spider as a hat.
Ooh,
Oh boy, yeah.
Oh, hello.
max results.
You're able to almost feel yourself crack as if being released from cement, just crack out of this and push the cold away from you. But you feel for a moment an opportunity that these whispers are starting to make more sense. Do you take a moment to listen, or do you completely fight it off and ignore the sensation?
You know, if it hadn't paralyzed her and she got a hold of her shotgun, she might have listened.
Right. Yeah.
But no. No.
Yep.
No. That thing has to stop her from touching her baby. Fuck this. Get the fuck off.
Right.
I don't care what you are. I don't care what you do. Get the fuck off.
Lark, you hear Sam like freak out. Sam, you slap the side of your neck, and as it does, like you kill a spider, and as you rip your hand away, the other two just get flung across the tent and just scurry away real fast. You grab your gun immediately, and you don't need no more fucking sleep. You're wide awake now. Like you're not getting sleep for a year. You're good. You just got, caffeine injected into your veins. But
Let's go, motherfuckers!
There's just commotion. And Sam's, she's only been in there for maybe 30 minutes. She wasn't in there for a long time, but I guess she's good.
Lark is going to. Is everyone still up? Has anyone gone to sleep yet?
Not yet. I think Fauna and Z, are probably in the process of getting there. Look was just told he needs to be on first watch, and Old Man Peter's been enjoying the conversation, so it definitely seems to be getting to that point where people will be going to sleep, but no one's quite there yet. Which may have, again, the main reason that Sam was so tired is just because of the day. Shoveling snow for 6 hours is going to do that.
Right. So I imagine that commotion is going to. The first person that's probably going to act is Look, I imagine.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
him being on watch, he was probably ready for something to happen. So I imagine he's heading towards the tent. Lark is going to wave to Abraham to follow him. And he's going to approach the tent. And he's going to look and be like, be ready in case something goes wrong. I'll try to see what the issue is.
Yeah, Look comes over, and as soon as he sees you there with like a shotgun and get ready, he immediately just goes to the side of your tent. Like, yep, I will keep a watch from over on this side. Sure, you want to put your head in the entrance? That's fine. I will make sure that nothing comes from this side.
Lark very cautiously approaches the tent. Sam, what's the problem?
You want to fucking go? I'll shoot you and all your damn spider friends! And her voice is no longer distorted anymore. You can now hear the very feminine voice coming in from this tent.
Sam, calm down. Is this a roll to
manipulate?
I don't know. This is yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think to a point, you're trying to just get her to listen, to even hear what you have to say.
All right.
So, I will ask Sam, do you want to interfere?
For sure. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
She is not willing to listen to anyone right now. It's going to take a lot to get her rolling.
All right.
So what is the interfere again?
So that's going to be your
history.
hex. So however much history you have. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I think there's it's tough. It's tough. I honestly, this is unfortunate. You feel your finger pulling that trigger without you necessarily controlling your finger to do that. I think that is the situation here. That you want to have control, but like your body's just in reflex, and now there's just a person appearing in front of you, So your finger twitches whether you meant to or not. So, yeah, Lark.
Slightly intentional.
There's a shotgun blast coming your direction, my friend. She's not willing to listen. It's just going off. Like, she's got itchy...
Wait, that was her roll to interfere. I haven't rolled
Right.
my manipulate.
Right, but when you miss on an interfere, you have to be prepared for the worst. This is the worst. Like, before
Well,
you...
it's the worst for me.
Well, to a point, I'm going to give you a chance to get out of the way. I'm not saying you're taking harm right away. I'm just saying as soon as you appear, like before you even begin to get through your first sentence, the shotgun's going off. So it's a matter of you just getting out of the way. So this is definitely an act under fire. Like, you hear that click and you're just, boom, get out of here. On top of this, though, you still have the -1. So if you do take any harm, you still have that entity's protection that you can use here. But first, we're going to see if you do. It's a matter of you go over there and you say one word and the gun goes off.
All right, so let's try under fire. Oh boy.
Okay. How much damage does your shotgun do again? It's 3?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think you take any damage. It's just a matter of like you have to dive out of the way.
It's clipped on the shoulder.
Yeah, and even that, like between the entity's protection and then your other abilities, you're not taking any harm. I will say let's still do the harm roll, but we're just gonna do it with a 1. You're not actually taking the 1 harm. Actually, we'll just do it at a 0. So we'll do the suffer harm, just 0, just to see if. Okay, so on an 8. Yeah, it's exactly that. You lose your footing. Like, you have to dive out of the way. So you find yourself, like, kind of covered in snow. And at that point, like, Look has cut open a side of the tent, and he definitely has his bow drawn and pointed towards the back of your skull, Sam. Like, you feel the gun jump in your hands. You see Lark move out of the way, and now you hear the tightness of that twine as it's pulled, and Look just says, "Drop it, Sam. Drop the gun." Wait. Come on.
Oh no.
Lark is still gonna try to get Sam to calm down. All right, would now be the appropriate time to roll my manipulate.
Yeah, from a distance, like you can yell, like staying out of shot, and you see Look is up there now with the bow drawn at the back of her head.
Okay. Lark's gonna be like, Sam, there's no need for violence here. Just take a breath, put the gun down. 11.
Oh yeah. So if you do it, if they I guess you get both, yeah. So if they go along with you, so if you drop the gun, if you have a conversation with Lark, you mark experience for doing that. But if you refuse, he gets to erase one of your stat highlights for the remainder of the session. So the choice is yours. You hear him calling from a distance. You do hear the sound of the bow drawn in behind you. He just wants you to drop the gun and talk. What does Sam do?
She's after firing that first shot and finally starting to catch her breath, and for some reason hearing the twining. She's not going to drop the gun, but she's going to take her hand off the trigger and start clutching it to her chest instead. And just hold out a hand and says, "Give me my helmet. Give it now." And she starts pointing towards the helmet, still hanging just outside.
Looks to you, Lark. Looks at you, Lark, and shakes his head. Like, he doesn't feel comfortable with her getting her. Like, he has a good shot right now. He feels confident that if she does anything else, he can take her out. And her getting her helmet back is not going to help him with that.
Lark is very quickly gonna look around because that shot went off, and he wants to know if anyone's out.
Abraham is there. Like as soon as you got thrown, he was running over to help you up. Old Man Peter, Fauna, and Z, yeah, they're all there. For a moment, Fauna and Z are just watching thing. Old Man Peter is very intently studying the faces of everyone involved, especially Look. And the fact that Look now has his bow drawn towards this person, like he has kind of given him the go ahead. Do what you need to do. Like
Okay.
you're in charge.
No one
assume
looks like they took buckshot though,
No.
right?
No.
Okay, that was my initial concern when I had that partial.
No, that's another reason why she stays far off, in case somebody steps too close. Nobody should be able to eat buckshot, hopefully.
I assume that Abraham is like right in front of Lark because of the puppet strings. So
Right.
if she shoots again, she'll hit Abraham.
Right. Now that he's there, yep. Well, no,
right.
actually, that puppet string would be gone because he did try to protect. He did try to protect Lark previously.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, it's
do
just
we
it
remember
didn't
how many
work
holds you
very
had?
well.
Was it just one or was it 3?
Good question. I think it was 3.
Okay.
I
So
think.
yeah, he still has
Yeah,
2
it
more
was
times.
3. You may have
Yeah.
pointed that.
So yeah, absolutely. Now that he's there, I get he's absolutely. If that gun's coming out, it's going through him.
Lark kind of puts a hand on Abraham's shoulders, tries to push him aside, although I imagine he gets a little bit of resistance from that. He walks over, picks up the helmet. He glances at Look and just says, "It's all right. She's calm now." And Lark hands Sam the helmet. Better?
And as she quickly snatches the helmet from your hand and starts putting it on, you manage to just barely manage to catch to see the right side of her face. Just barely manage to catch it from all the hair that had been covering it. And you notice this massive, just wound, burns. Like, maybe where she could have even been shot from just point blank. Just the sheer fire, the burning sensation from the gun or something.
Lark takes a note of that and underlines it.
And she quickly puts on the helmet and she seems to start slowly using the gas mask to seem to start slowing her breathing down. Almost like a paper bag in its own sense. As she slowly puts the shotgun down.
As you put the helmet on, Look, withdraws his weapon and actually goes back to Peter. And Lark, as you hear Sam kind of taking some deep breaths, putting the gun down, you notice that Peter and Look have kind of stepped away from Fauna and Z, and they're having a side conversation. And it definitely, there's some tension there. Just from their body posture, they're very uncomfortable with what's going on right now.
Lark sees that, and he's going to get as close to Sam as Sam will allow right now.
That is just outside the tent. You take one step in, that shotgun's coming back up.
Lark moves forward and he speaks quietly, so only Sam and Abraham's probably right next to him. He just speaks to Sam. "I'm still very much willing to fulfill my end of the bargain, but this is less than ideal. What happened? What triggered this?"
You tell your fucking god demon spider. I don't care what the fuck it is. You tell it to leave me the fuck alone. And she holds out the hand with all the splashed spider guts and just flicks it in his general direction.
Lark kind of looks down at those. It probably takes a sec for him to remember what those are. And he just says, "I don't control it. If it's selected you for something, it has selected you. I can do nothing about it. However, I can help you.
She's gonna sit there in silence, just recovering from that fucking crap that just happened.
I won't force you to make a decision now. But Peter and Look aren't happy about what just happened. I will defend you to the best of my abilities because I am fulfilling the promise I have made to you. But I can't protect you forever if this keeps happening.
Keep your spiders away from me, and this won't happen again. You keep your shadow, magic-y bullshit away from me, and it won't happen again. And she just starts slowly looking up at you. Not reaching for the gun yet, but you can tell there is just some deep, deep hatred coming towards you. Maybe not towards you yourself, but for whatever that shadow is that's behind you.
Lark, kind of seeing this. Violence is something you're quite familiar with. That much is obvious. I don't need any insight from my god to see that. But no, without a focus, violence destroys not only what's around us, but what's within us. I very, very much rather see you find some degree of focus. Regardless of what you think of me, I do not wish to see you destroyed. I think you can be a lot better than that. And I think I'm going to read a person because Lark is going to take a moment and pick his next words very carefully.
Love it. You wanting to interfere again?
Not now. Not
Okay.
this time.
Yep.
All right. Oof. I get red.
In fact, actually, I think I'm going to try and help him.
You're going to help? Okay. Plot twist.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because she wants to get this point across to him. She wants to get this through that thick skull of his.
Skull.
Lark just holds up the skull.
Right.
You mean this one is really
This
not
one? It's actually hollow. Did you know? Okay. So that makes it a 7.
All right. I think the obvious question is, what is Sam really feeling?
She is feeling very much. She sort of remembers this sort of feeling back from when she first died. It feels like, from what you can gather from her, is that she's been on death's door, and this whatever just happened to her in this tent made her think she was knocking on it again, and she was not about to walk that path the second time. Not yet, anyway. There's no fear of death. It's the fear of when she's going to die.
Right. Reading that, Lark leans in just a little bit more and says, we all have things we wish to accomplish before leaving this world, and if you let your demons eat away at you, you will not see any of those things come to fruition. And that would be an absolute waste. And with that, Lark's just going to slowly back away, turn, and head back towards it.
just as you're backing away, Abraham grabs you by your shoulder and points you. The two men that were talking are now 4, as 2 individuals dressed in pure white have seemed to join them. And as we see the 4 men shake hands, we transition back to the castle. For Dusk, you've just witnessed these events. There is more madness again. Seeming the whole day has been, well, quite bloody. And strolling through the crowd are the Emperor and the Night Sentinel. They seem worn, tired, very frustrated, walking with aggression with each step. And for a moment, while you're hidden away back in shadows up on walls out of sight, you feel like the Emperor knows you're there, and you feel his gaze fall upon you. And with that scene, we will call it a night for tonight.
All right.
We have pushed through.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
Oh boy, so many cool things happening.
Oh yeah, every night. Oh, it's getting so deep. I'm loving this, Sam. You've only been here for 2 nights, but already so many twists and turns. It's awesome. And I don't often have party splits where there's a lot of story development on both parties, and I think we're doing awesome with this. I think both sides, we got some crazy stuff going on.
I was so worried when it was decided that Lark was going to leave for a bit, but it is, oh my god, and the number of things that are all going to come to a head once the caravan gets back.
Oh, right. I mean, you haven't even got where you're going yet.
I know.
Who even knows? But awesome.
Oh boy.
So let's take a quick moment, go around. You know what? Let's start. Well, we'll start here at the very beginning with Dusk. Do you feel like anyone knows you better or worse? I know it's difficult because you are alone, but
I mean, if the Emperor were still with us,
right.
but
right.
unless the caravan somehow gets news of what's happening in the castle and Lark and Sam could connect it to Dusk.
Well, we did talk about that last week, where Dusk is kind of fulfilling the prophecy that Lark had envisioned. And I definitely feel you continue to follow that path and exercise your power on everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I just killed like the equivalent of a small gang in just a single day.
You did. Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty just about half of all that Portum brought. So they're oh, the conversations the Emperor would still be having if it was here. I can only imagine that storyline.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Yeah. No, I think I definitely think some conversations with Lark could have inspired you. So if you want to use that still, I'm totally okay with that.
Well, if Lark feels that I continue to fulfill the prophecy, then yeah.
All right, that
So
actually brings me to 4, so it goes back down to 1, I believe.
Correct. Yep. If you go positive, it goes to 1. If you go negative, it goes to 0.
Got it.
And mark your experience. What about you, Lark? I think, again, it's going to be fairly easy for the next, few weeks until we all get back together, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the interactions between Sam and Lark in this session were actually pretty intense. Oh my god, like, it feels so weird, like, channeling my inner Lark when I start to preach to people.
And I'll be honest, I'll say something a little bit different. Due to that last read, I'm gonna have to say Lark actually gets a +1. He just figured out something a little bit about
I saw you
Yeah.
unmasked. That's a pretty big deal.
Mhm.
And though it might not lead to exactly what Lark is hoping for, I like some of what he is about and everything. Like definitely rubbing off on. I guess not rubbing off, but Sam is. They're seeing parts of each other that are so telling.
Awesome. Well, in that case, we're gonna leave it with a few additional men joining the camp out of seemingly nowhere, and the castle
boy.
just erupting in utter bloodshed and madness. And we will pick it up next week. I don't expect any resolutions, but I definitely expect some continuations. So, yeah, thank you three for playing. I think we are definitely creating some really interesting stories here. Thank you, anyone that might be watching out there. And that's all I got. So we will see you again next week. Take care.
All right.
Bye.